All right, let's turn to this now. The Inkatha Freedom Party Youth Brigade is calling on the mother body to withdraw a declaration it signed with the Multi-Party Charter for South Africa. 7 opposition political parties, including the IFP, met over 2 days last week in Kempton Park to forge a coalition agreement ahead of the 2024 general elections. For more on their dissatisfaction, we're joined now by the IFP Youth Brigade Secretary, Mlungisi Mabaso. Mabaso, good evening, and thank you very much for coming on this evening. How significant is the voice of the Youth Brigade in the multi-party charter formation?
Thank you very much, Butabo, and greetings to yourself and the viewers at home. And thank you for giving us an opportunity to clarify some of the issues. Yes, of course, the IFP Brigade did write a letter directed to the President of the party, the Deputy President, the Secretary General of the party, and the National Chairperson. And the reason we wrote to these senior leaders is because they were part of the delegation that was representing the IFP at a multi-party charter for South Africa negotiations. But what had transpired is that when they were in that negotiations, we then learned that the declaration has been signed as the Youth Brigade, and it was all over the news. And in our meeting as the IFP Youth Brigade, after looking at what has been agreed to and what has been signed, and we felt that we need to engage with our leaders on what they have signed, and also to look at if is in the best interest of the organization. Hence, we wrote that particular letter, clarifying some of the resolutions of which we felt the party had taken, as an approach towards the negotiations, because these negotiations started a long time ago. Right. But there was a particular stance that we had taken as the organization, and we felt that we need to engage with our leaders just to establish as to what really transpired in the negotiations vis-a-vis what we had agreed upon as the organization.
So I'm asking that question precisely because of what you're pointing out. Engagement after signing. It seems to me you were not an important party to be considered before signing. You are coming after the fact and saying, wait, what did you sign? Why did you sign? And let's engage you on what you've signed on. Wouldn't you have rather had that process happen before they went to sign? Was there no consultation with the structures within the organization, an important structure as the Youth Brigade, so that you can have input into it before they went ahead with the signing?
Well, the discussions has always been there in the National Executive Committee of the party. I think it's over 3 months now that we've been engaging ourselves in these particular discussions. And every time when our senior leaders attended, they would come back and report to the National Executive Committee. But as I've indicated, that there is a particular stance or a position rather that we had taken as the party on how we will approach the negotiations, and we felt as the IFP Youth Brigade that our leaders in a way took another decision of which was not the same as the one that we had agreed to, and that's why we wrote to them seeking clarity as to what had then transpired, because it was not what we had agreed to uphold.
So let's talk about that. So you're saying that the National Executive Committee of the party has resolved to continue the reconciliation project with the ANC, where you're saying you worked with the ANC previously. So you're saying as far as the NEC is concerned, there is no position that says we will not work with the ANC. And that is a key value, what you say, or principle that they signed up to when they joined the multi-party charter for South Africa?
Well, if you see the letter that we had written, it talked to the number of issues. It's not only specific to the reconciliation to the ANC, and it's one of the issues that we had raised, because the approach that we had taken, in fact, or that we had agreed to, that we had understand as the Youth Brigade, was that the party had they acknowledged that we did work with the ANC. They had also they had an appreciation that we also worked with the EFF in some of the municipalities before they pulled out and sidelined us in the municipalities, and we are currently working with the DA. So all those things were taken into consideration when the party took a position to say we are not going to close a door for any possible coalitions. And we got worried as the IFP Youth Brigade when we saw the declaration where some of the political parties were excluded, because it was now going against what we had anticipated that the party had agreed to say we should not close a door for any possible coalitions. And yes, the issue of the reconciliation in the IFP, it's a conference resolution of 2019 to say that we need to conclude the reconciliation with the ANC, and it's a project that started long time ago, and we still believe that project needs to be concluded, and we need not to close the door for that particular project to be concluded, because I think it is important for the nation, it is important for both parties.
Yeah. So most importantly, I suppose, from your letter, what you're noting is that there was an agreement also coming out from the NEC that there will be no signing of any agreement until after the 2024 election. So why do you think that the other parts of the NEC would have then participated in this particular charter, when it's very clear that the mother organization had said there will be no signing of any agreement until after the election? Then you can have coalition talks with whoever you want to have coalition talks with.
Well, that was the position which we had understood as the IFP Brigade. Hence, we penned down our consent after we saw, after we learned that the leaders have signed the declaration. But in the meeting that we had yesterday, because we were able to present our letter in the meeting, and our leaders did assure us that it is a working document, and as and when it is necessary, the possibilities of improving the document will always be there, because if the document is a working document, then that means whatever concern that might arise out of the clauses in the document may be looked at, reviewed, be amended, so that at least they are in line with what we deem as in the best interest of the organization. And we appreciate that opportunity that they had afforded to us to present our case, and we appreciate that they did also take us into confidence that whatever that they are engaging on is actually, they have considered most of the things, some of the things that we have raised, and they are going to continue to workshop the document, and we are still going to make inputs in the documents as the youth, as and when that opportunity is afforded to us, because we are part of the engagements, we are part of the meetings that sit in the party, and that opportunity will also be open to us when the organization see it fit for them to review the document, because it is a working document, and it is not a cut in stone. So that's the assurance that our leaders gave to us yesterday in the meeting.
I find that very interesting, Mabaso. You say, so your leaders who signed, they consider this charter a working document. Yes, the charter says in their clauses that there is room for review of some of the clauses, but also that would take a consensus from all of them coming and actually making those changes. It won't be just one single party coming and making that kind of input. But for me, what is a concern is that it's already been publicly announced that the parties who form part of this multi-charter are saying, we will not work with the EFF, we will not work with the ANC. In fact, they are declaring the EFF, at least one of the parties declaring the EFF as enemy number one. Don't you think the fact that your leaders have publicly gone to the public with this group of other parties and declared we will not work with the ANC and the EFF, that immediately shuts the door for the IFP to work with those parties, because those parties would read that you've said, well, we will not be working together?
Well, I think in the negotiations, when you get to a table to negotiate, things changes. We are not part of the negotiations, but we have raised our issues as the Youth Brigade, and our leaders are aware of our issues, and they afforded us an opportunity, and we raised those issues to say, the doors should not be closed. And the assurance that we got from our leaders was that because it is a working document, the improvements will be done in the document. I mean, they said it was for the first time that they met in person to engage, and it was not for the last time. So we are also going to monitor the progress, monitor how the engagements are unfolding. But I think we are going to take what was given to us to say, we are giving you an assurance, we are going to work on the document, and we will make sure that most of the things that we have engaged ourselves on as leaders in the National Executive Committee, which we deemed prudent for the organization, and which we also view them as issues that will protect the interest of the organization approaching the election. So all those things, because leaders have assured us that they are going to consider them as and when they are reviewing the document. So we've taken that and we have accepted that, but we are going to continue to monitor how the discussions are unfolding as we are going forward.
You are therefore saying to us that your two recommendations were not successful, in other words, because one, you recommended that they withdraw the declaration, or alternatively withdraw from the multi-party charter for South Africa negotiations. Two, you said they must issue a media statement or to convene a press conference to clarify the present party position. So they've not done those two things. So your proposals were not successful.
Well, I wouldn't say our proposals were not successful. Remember, when the document is being workshopped, when our leaders gave us assurance that the document is a working document, that means anything is still possible. So we wouldn't close that window to say our recommendations were not successful, and we will not say our recommendations were also successful, because we were not competing there. We presented our facts, our leaders responded, and were appreciated, the response that they had provided to us. So that's why we are saying we are going to monitor the engagements as we are moving forward. And we are still going to engage ourselves as and when our leaders give us that opportunity, as they did yesterday. So we wouldn't say they did not succeed, and we would not also say they had succeeded, because we were in the meeting and we are still, engaging ourselves as the party. Because if they are saying to us, it is a working document, as and when it is necessary, the improvements will be made. Then that means if then all of those efforts by our leaders does not succeed, then any consideration can be made, and we will not then come back to say it was a victory for the youth, it was a loss for the senior leaders, because we are not in the competition, but we all want what is in the best interest of the organization, and we all want to protect the organization and maintain the integrity of the organization.
Hence, I'm saying you did not get that, because surely, I'm sure you did not go into the meeting with the expectation you'll be told that, no, that's just a working document. You went into the meeting with the intention to say, well, give us clarity, also give the public clarity on what our party position is. So we have not gotten that clarity at this particular point What we do know is that they are signatories to the Multi-Party Charter for South Africa, and what is contained in that charter is that they will not be working with the EFF, or they will not be working with the ANC come 2024.
Well, I think the leaders, I think they will, still present the position of the party. I mean, as much as the signature was done, but the reality is that, there is still a lot of work that still needs to be done, and that will still also need to be communicated to all the party structures, because the organization also, use public platforms to communicate with the structures. They also use other means within the organization to communicate with the structures. So I think the position of the party, as much as the signature was penned out, but the reality is that if the document is a working document, and there are possible, improvements that can be made in the document, so that on its own will amount to a position having to be presented outside. But what we are saying is that with our recommendations that we have put in as the IFP Youth Brigade, we will say if the organization does not, in a way, keep to the decisions and the resolution that he had taken at the time, let's pull out of these engagements, and let's also or withdraw the declaration. But our leaders, when they said to us, no, we are giving you assurance that we are working in the document. So meaning that the fears that we had, in a way, were a little bit, addressed or eliminated, because they are still working on the document, meaning that what has been agreed to is not cut in stone. So they will still workshop the document. They will still look at the possibilities of improving the document, and they might come back to us and say, what you have presented to us, Youth Brigade, we have considered and we have workshopped the document, and those the possibilities of improving the document have been effected. So anything is possible. In a working document, anything is possible. Hence, we are saying we are still going to monitor the progress and see if those possible improvement are happening, and if they are still in line with what we seek to achieve as the organization.
Mlungisi Mabaso, appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming on and giving that clarity. Ngata Freedom Party Youth Brigade Secretary there.